So in this video we're going to go through Burp. Burp is something that is required when pen testing a website, and it's exceedingly useful because what it does is it intercepts requests and you can manipulate requests. So you can use Burp to bypass front-end validation by intercepting the request and changing it and then sending it off to the back-end server. So we're going to go through that in this video. We'll talk about, again, like I do in all the videos, we'll talk about the basics in this video and we'll build on that in future videos, because a lot of information in one hit can actually be quite too much information. Burp is there's a lot to it. So we'll just go through the stuff that you will be using as a beginner and then go from there. So Burp it's got two versions. It's got community edition and it's got the Pro. My work laptop has the Pro edition, but it's quite expensive. So the majority of you will probably be starting off with the community edition, which is what I'm going to be using in this video. So let me share my screen. If you want to download Burp, so we'll go through the installation of Burp as well. So I've got it installed already, so I'm not going to actually be installing it, but I'm hoping that if you want to get into pen testing, then you're able to install a program by yourself in Windows. So all you do is go on Google, type in Burp Suite. You've got Portswigger, so it's made by Portswigger. You then, I clicked on the wrong link. Let's have a look. Burp. No, blah 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 blah. Products. So click products. Come down. Burp Suite Community Edition. I really struggle saying that. So you click on that, and then you get taken to this page. Click download. Choose what operating system you've got, which I'm assuming is going to be Windows 64-bit. You want to make sure it's Community Edition. Community Edition, yeah, that's it. Then click download. Then it will start downloading. To download, there's nothing. To install it, there's nothing special. You just literally install it as you would do any other Windows program. I'm going to cancel that because I don't want it again. Once you've installed it, it won't appear in your on your desktop or anything down here. You actually have to search for it. So just go into search Burp Community Edition. Oh, you can't see this, can you? Because it's on the other screen. Anyway, so just find it basically on your computer, open it up, and then this will be what you see here. So we're going to start off with a temporary project. And then you click next, and then you click start Burp with the use Burp defaults. Let it do its thing. So currently, again, not for me because I already have it set up, but for you, once you have installed Burp, that means that you can intercept HTTP requests, but you can't intercept HTTPS requests because they are encrypted and safe, secure, blah blah blah, and you don't have the appropriate certificate for that. So that's something we need to install. So in order to install that, you need to open up Burp. So you need to have it running first. You need to choose the browser that you want to use for Burp. So I typically will use Chrome for Burp. You need to install a proxy service, so I use Foxy Proxy, which is quite a popular one. To install Foxy Proxy, you just open up a new tab and you type in Foxy Proxy and then the browser, so Chrome. You can see I've already clicked it and installed it. Click on this and then you just click, I don't know what it says, install or download or blah blah blah, whatever. Once you've installed it, you then want to open it up. So you might not see it here to start with, so we might have to click this if you're using Chrome, and then pin it so that it displays up here. So you're going to open it up, you're going to click options, click proxies, add a new proxy. Again, I'm not going to do this because I already have my proxy set up, but for your host or IP address, you want your local host. So you want 127.0.0.1. For your port, you're going to want 8080. And then you click save. I'm not going to click save, like I said, because I already have it set up. If you click general, you can put a name in. So I would just put Burp, just so that you know the difference. And then again, obviously click save. So this will be what it looks like. So Burp 127.0.0.1, port 8080. So that means that once that's set up, if you were to click the Foxy Proxy symbol up here, you would have this option here. It might be a different color depending on what color you've chosen, but you will see use proxy burp for all URLs. So when it's disabled, nothing is traveling through Burp. It's just going straight to the web server or DNS server, and then bringing a response back. So it's not going through Burp. Once you've set that up and you haven't got HTTPS access, in order to do that, you need to make sure that Burp is open and running, and you need to use click this one. So use Burp for all URLs. Open up a tab, and then go to localhost. So 127.0.0.1. Actually, sorry, you might specify the port. So you put :8080, and then you'll get this page here. And in the corner, you'll see CA certificate. Click that, download that certificate there. Again, I've already done this, so I'm not going to actually install it, but I'll show you how to do it. So once it's downloaded, you want to go into the settings of Chrome. This is more or less the same with Firefox and everything else. Search certificate. So for me, it's going to be in security, manage certificates, and you want trusted root certification authorities. Import, you click import, click next. Where it asks for the file name, you browse and you go to where that file is located. So here, if you keep this as default, it won't display. So you need to click all files, and I've got mine here. Then you select it, click open, click next. I'll just do it actually. Click next. I'm not going to install it again in case it messes up my settings, but you just keep clicking next, and I think there's an option for you to click yes or no. Have a read through it. It's quite self-explanatory, but I think you click yes on that one, or accept, agree, whichever the positive side of that, and then that installs that certificate. So that means that once that's installed, you can then use Burp to access HTTPS requests. So we have Burp here. So this is the view that you're going to get when you open up Burp. Different options at the top here. Now yours are going to be empty. Well, they might be empty. Now, in order to get requests to go through Burp, you need to remember to have the proxy turned on. If you don't have Burp turned on, so if I close Burp, but I still have the proxy on, nothing's going to load. So if I go to Google, I'm not going to get anything, because you're trying to send the request through Burp when Burp isn't actually running. So that's something to bear in mind, because it's happened to me a lot. I've got in a browser that I use for Burp. I've tried to visit a website and it's come up with this, and I've realised I've left the proxy on, but Burp's not running. So it's something to bear in mind for the future. So I'm going to just close all this rubbish here. Which one was it I wanted to show you on? That was this, I think. Is it still working? Please still work. See, I've just done it now. Got it on. That's it. Okay, so we'll open up Burp again. Let's come on my other screen. So here's Burp. So what we want to do is, when you send a request to a website and you get a response back, on most real life websites, I'm not talking about dedicated hack the box websites or try hack me websites, but on real life websites you will get a lot of responses back, a lot of requests, because the website could pull in resources from external places. So it could have a jQuery from somewhere else, it could have an API, it could have CSS file from other places, it could try and pull images from elsewhere. So you're going to get a lot of populated rubbish that you don't actually need to look at. Now, if I run everything through Burp, click home, I don't think this is going to... Now, you can see here that all I did... do you know what? That was a bad example. Very bad example. Let's get it back over here. Let's clear this rubbish. Can I clear this? Let's click my account. Start requesting. So this has been set up. So let's try and go on something else. All apps. Refresh. Okay, so this is a good example. So I just refresh this page. So all I want to see is just this stuff here. So you can see that is this request here. So it's the first request. So we can click this here. Actually, no. Back to how it was. Sorry. So this is the request we made when we refresh the page. It called Web Security All Labs. Get request. Load of headers. Authentication and cookies, because I'm logged into my Portswigger account. And then it's sent back. I don't know if this will load because it's obviously quite a lot of content. So we're going to assume it's not going to load. So you can see here. There's all these basically. What you see here is the front end code displayed here. So that's fine, that's good. But then you can see we also have all this other crap here. So Google stuff. So whatever it's requesting, so it's obviously requesting analytics from Google, which is not necessarily stuff we want to see. Because it ends up, if you're on a pen test, and it's a complex website that requests loads of different external sources, that's irrelevant, especially to start off with. You don't really care about the analytics of Google, so you need to try and get rid of all that stuff. So what we can do is we can add to scope. So we know that it's Portswigger that we want, so we can come into target. So if we click target here, this is a sitemap. It even says it there, sitemap of everything. So we just want to display Portswigger. So we can click on it, and then we can right click on it, and we can click add to scope. We're going to click no for this one. And by clicking no, all that means is it's not going to stop gathering information about other requests. It's just not going to consider it as something that's in the scope. So now if we go back to Proxy and we clear this by right clicking and then clicking clear history, so it starts again. If we click this filter button, we can select show only in scope items, which will just be Portswigger. So now if I refresh it, I'm not going to see all that other rubbish there. All I'm going to see is the two that are actually from the host of Portswigger, which makes it a lot easier to view when you're doing a pen test. Now, you've got the target will display a sitemap. If you click on this one here, then you've got all the stuff in scope. So you can see here that we added Portswigger to scope. You can remove it if you want. Proxy has got HTTP history, which is typically what I use when I'm actually doing a pen test. I'll have this open all the time, I'll navigate around the site, and you can view all the different types of requests and responses here. So you just click on one of them and you can view the request and the response. Intercept. Intercept is quite good because it actually captures a request and it holds it. So it will leave the browser hanging and it will hold it so you can do whatever you like with it. So for example, if I were to turn it on, so intercept is off, click that, it's now on. So if I then click on this here, any link, doesn't matter, but I'm just going to use this as an example. If I click that, you can see that loading symbol at the top here. So it's requested that, but it's not actually able to retrieve that because I've intercepted the request, and you can see that this is the request here. So this is good to manipulate stuff. So let me turn this off actually. Let me show you on something that's a little bit more relevant. So let's add this ACE81 in scope. This one here, add to scope. Now I'm going to turn the intercept on. Then if I click on my account, again it's hanging now. You can see that loading. So I've sent a request to my account, so I'm going to forward that, keep forwarding all the other rubbish. So now we've got this page. So for example, if I wanted to, I don't know, perform SQL, I don't think SQL will work on this because this lab isn't for SQL, so they've probably got filters in place for that. So let's say I'm just going to put admin and testing as the password. So if I click login, you can see that we've intercepted. We've not allowed that to be sent yet. We have intercepted it. Post request to login because it's a post request, we get a body. So you can see here. So this is a way for you to manipulate this. You can play about with these parameters here. You can add SQL if you want. Now the other handy feature is repeater. So repeater, if I were to grab hold of this, right click and click send to repeater. Now I have it within repeater and I can do whatever I like with it. So I can turn this interceptor off so that it will then carry on as normal. But I have this in repeater, which means that I can just keep on sending requests without having to use the browser at all. You know, I can put in a load of rubbish. I can put whatever I want in here, keep sending it, and it's just going to perform the request and response system. And that's it. So this is actually quite handy when you're trying out different payloads potentially, because you haven't got to keep sending requests, capturing them, trying them, you know, which takes time. Whereas this, you can just edit it in here, click send, get the response, click send, get the response, keep on doing that. So it's much quicker. So that's basically it when it comes to repeater. Your proxy, at the moment, there's only two things you're looking at, which is the intercept, which we went through, HTTP history, which just everything that is in scope will be displayed here, which is something that you will have on, or you should have on, when you're navigating around a website and just seeing how the website works, so that you can see what it's calling. Typically, to start off with, it's perhaps best not to have something in scope when you're first looking at a target website, just because you don't know what it's calling. You know, you don't know what handy or useful external resources it's going to be calling. So it's good just to keep it off, and then look through it, and then you can over that day, the first day, which usually the first day you spend enumerating, so finding out information. You can use that first day to actually then start adding things into scope that are relevant. But you saw in the last example that stuff like Google Analytics isn't really going to be helpful. So we've covered target, we've covered proxy, intruder, repeater. I haven't really used this at the moment, but then you've got obviously decoder. So decoder is something that you can just input strings or encoded strings, I suppose. Yeah, encoded entities. You can decode URLs, HTML, base64, quite handy for base64 stuff. And then vice versa, you can encode them as well. comparer is you can put sections of text in and compare the two results. Now, Burp has their own marketplace, if you like. So you go to Extender, you click BApp or BApp store, and there's loads of different plugins that people have made which do help. So for example, I have Auth Analyzer, which is actually really handy. And what Auth Analyzer does is it's handy for checking access control. So if you've got a website that has potentially, let's say, 3 user levels, user permissions, user roles, you can have one that's anonymous, so not logged in. You can have another user that is logged in, and then you have an admin user that can do anything and everything. So what you would typically do with Auth Analyzer is you'd create a session for every single user role. So you'd have one here for anonymous, you'd have one for normal user. And then what you do is, if you were anonymous and you had cookies assigned to you, or you had an API key, you would add that into here so that it gets added to the header section of the request. When you're logged in as a normal user, you're going to have a cookie session to keep that session alive. You want to include that cookie session here, exactly the same format. So cookie and then whatever the session is. Same if you've got an API key, you'd include that in here. If, for example, you're anonymous and you have, which I had last week, if you have a authorization header that is invalid, so it just kept returning errors, you could use this to remove a header. So you click remove, then you'd remove the authorization header. Now, once you've done this, you then would click this here, which would run the analyzer. So what you do is, in your browser, you'd be logged in as the admin. So you'd be logged in as the user with the highest privileges in this case, in this example. And what it would do is it would, I mean, I'll show you in another video perhaps, but not in this example. But what you would do is you would perform admin actions. So stuff that only an admin should be able to do. You would perform that in your normal browser as usual. And what Auth Analyzer will do is it will attempt to perform the same admin actions as an anonymous user and as a normal user. And you'll get a list of results here, and it will tell you if a normal user was able to perform those same actions. So for example, if you had an admin that could delete users, as the admin you would delete a user. But then obviously you'd have a normal user that shouldn't be able to delete that user, and especially anonymous shouldn't be able to delete a user either. So I would delete a user on my admin account that is on the browser. Then in the background, Auth Analyzer would attempt to visit the relevant page and delete the user using the normal user cookie session, authorization set, whichever it is. It will attempt to perform that using this and also by this. And obviously common sense says that you shouldn't be able to delete a user as a normal user or an anonymous user, and it will give you the result back, and you'll be able to actually view the request and response to see how they differ. You should, in theory, as one of these users, you should get some sort of unauthorized message. That's what you'd like to think. If the user, if a normal user and anonymous user was able to delete the request, that's obviously delete the user. That's obviously bad because they shouldn't be able to do that, and you'll be able to see that here. And even in this page here, it will tell you, it will say that it's the same request. You know, they're able to perform the same request, or they're not able to perform the same request. When I find an appropriate lab or website to test this on, I'll do a video on that so you can see. But this is something definitely worth playing about with because it is handy. It's a lot quicker to use this to test, you know, what users are able to do, and if, you know, to make sure that they can't perform admin stuff that they can only do. So that's the basics of Burp Suite. So we went through the installation, setting up, We went through target, proxy, intruder, repeater, decoder, compare, auth analyzer, and extender. That is going to be enough for you to get by in my future videos. So if there's something that I've not covered or you're still confused about, then obviously please message me and let me know. But we'll go into everything in a lot more detail. But I'm hoping this should make sense to you to a degree. So we'll move on to the next video where we will discuss something else. We'll see.